Let's be real, Agent Ray Nadeem is the best original character Marvel has ever created. A complete hot take because I'm completely blatantly ignoring all of the other competition, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I still haven't watched that past season 1. And honestly, I don't care to. But honestly, my man Ray Nadeem isn't just a side character in this season. He is honestly the heart and the backbone of Daredevil Season 3. And the masterpiece of a season that is Daredevil Season 3 doesn't work without this masterpiece of an original character, period. Ray Nadeem was truly a masterfully crafted original character for this show because he is truly just a guy thrown into extraordinary circumstances like many other heroes, but in this stance, he delivered on all fronts, and it's truly awesome to see that he was the glue, the wild card, and the soul that made Daredevil Season 3 hit harder than any Fisk punch. Ray Nadeem is us. And honestly, Marvel loves giving us larger-than-life heroes. It's really fun to watch, like a billionaire Tony Stark, who is truly a genius, a billionaire, philanthropist, playboy, Tony Stark, you know. I'm not going to miss any of his accolades because he earned all of them. And Thor has his mighty hammer and mythical lore behind him as well. And Captain America is literally America's golden boy, you know. But Ray Nadeem is just a guy who's, you know, he's just an FBI agent, just a government agent who is struggling to pay his bills. You know, he is just a guy hustling to provide for his family and trying to maintain the stable American dream type of life, you know, maintain even keeping this house, you know. Meanwhile, life keeps dunking on him like it's prime Shaq, you know, keeps tearing him down when he is trying to keep pushing himself back up. Like, he paid for a loved one's cancer treatment and he paid for all their medical bills, but in return, he keeps getting more shit and more financial strain than he could ever thought of. And that's where the ego comes in at times, you know? That is a true gut punch. Ray didn't just want to survive and keep living paycheck to paycheck. He wanted to matter. He wanted his name to mean something, to live up to the greats. But Ray got his wish, you know? He got the dream that he wanted, just not the way he wanted to and hoped to. Because instead of being celebrated for his hard work and sacrifices, he became the guy who dug his own grave, literally and metaphorically, by helping Wilson Fisk. Even after Ray Nadeem's downfall, he inspired everybody around him, you know? He wasn't clouded and sulking because of his despair. He wanted to carry and make sure his story means something, you know? He doesn't want to be just another victim and another pedestrian that gets hit constantly by Fisk's barrage. He wants to matter, and he will make a difference by truly using what he had left. You know, he's a very relatable character because he is very, very opportunistic, you know, opening up and doing anything he possibly could to make things right. And I'm happy to say that we have a collaborator today, and his name is Film 1000, so you get it. Take it away.
Ray's story revolves around choices. Hard, painful choices that don't come with an easy way out. When he aligned himself with Fisk, it wasn't because he was evil or corrupt. It was because he was desperate. Desperation makes people do things they never thought they would. I know me personally, I have been in similar situations as Ray. Not in the extreme case of working for a crazy crime boss that would pound me to a bloody pulp with a car door if I got the slightest bit angry. But doing some not so great things because of the situation that I am in, and because I feel I am trying to do the right thing. I see Ray in myself in some ways, and I'm sure others see Ray in themselves as well. Ray was a good person. He was just stuck in a bad situation. He was trying to carve out a future for his family, but the world doesn't reward guys like Ray. It chews them up and spits them out. In the end, even as he met his fate, he found some sort of redemption. He exposed the truth and he made his name matter, even if it costed him his life. If Daredevil is who we aspire to be, then Ray is who we are. Flawed, struggling, fighting against a system that doesn't care. And maybe, just maybe, hoping in the end our choices will mean something, even if we do some bad things along the way.
Ray Nadeem's story was a tragic masterpiece. If Ray's arc didn't punch you in the chest, are you even human? Like, seriously, what the fuck? Ray Nadeem's heart, you know, he truly mattered. He was awesome. And watching him go from a hopeful to a hopeless was like watching someone sink into quicksand. It's so hard, you know. The more he fought, the deeper he got, you know. And he got too deep to the point where he just couldn't get out anymore. Pause. You know, Fisk didn't just manipulate him. He dismantled this man's soul, you know. But that's where it gets genius for this character and this character writing for Ray Nadeem. His downfall wasn't just about him. It elevated everybody around him. Ray's character truly affected all these other really big players this season in season 3 of Daredevil. Where from Matt the main character, literally the Daredevil, the title character, Matt Murdock, was affected by this original character because Ray was a reflection of Matt's father, Jack Murdock. Both men wanted to prove they were more than their circumstances. Jack died believing his name would mean something. He wanted his son to hear his name be shouted to the rooftops because of his legacy and because of him winning, showing that he can dominate, right? But what did that cost him? It costed him his life, and it costed Matt a father. But unlike Jack, Ray's sacrifice gave Matt hope instead of despair. It truly was a big difference maker from Matt's perspective and truly gave Matt hope, especially Matt in season 3 where he is wallowing in probably and possibly the worst moment of his life, right? He's having a whole crisis, and I feel like Nadeem's redemption truly helps Matt pick himself back up to where he wants to be and where his friends want him to be too. And now Ray Nadeem's effect on Wilson Fisk or Kingpin, or the biggest monster in any of these Netflix shows and probably the biggest monster in any of these Marvel shows. Ray was the ultimate symbol of Fisk's cruelty. He was everything that Fisk has done to people. Fisk has used people to death. Fisk has built an empire on exploiting people like Ray, the working class man who's trying to do his hardest just to make ends meet. And Fisk is just working them out to the point where he's benefiting and these working class people don't get a cent. Good men that get stuck in bad systems. But the irony was that Ray was the silver bullet that took down Fisk. His confession was a dying declaration of all the dirt that Fisk has done. And that truly took Fisk down for a while until we watched Born Again, and you can see all that shit just unravel. Poor Ray Nadeem's sacrifice meant nothing, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Truly, Fisk thought he owned Ray Nadeem, but Ray's confession truly killed every little momentum that Fisk had. Pass it on to you, Film 1000.
For Poindexter, Ray unfortunately dies from Poindexter, and Poindexter being the one to kill Ray was tragically poetic. Both are and were federal agents, and even in their last scene together, it looks like they have a connection beyond just being manipulated by Fisk. If Ray was the man trying to claw his way out of the abyss, Bullseye was the one who already drowned himself in it. When Poindexter pulled the trigger on Ray, it wasn't just an execution, but a full circle moment. Fisk had turned both of them into disposable pawns, but only one of them was able to realize it before it was too late. Karen and Foggy, Ray's case was a spark that reignited their partnership with Matt. Let's be honest, Daredevil is at its best when the three trio, Nelson, Murdock, and Page, are all working together. Ray's courage brought the trio back to their roots, reminding them of the good they could do as a team. Ray also inspired both Karen and Foggy, and it went a little bit more than just inspiring. Ray became a part of them. His fight for justice lives on in Foggy, and Ray's relentless for pursuing the truth fuels Karen. Ray was more than just being a victim of Fisk's manipulation. If Ray had fully played into Fisk's hands, the Kingpin would have solidified his control over Hell's Kitchen. But Ray chose to fight back, tipping the scales in Matt's favor. And that's what makes his arc so compelling, because Ray was never meant to be the traditional, everyday hero. He was just a guy trying to do right by his family, stuck in a twisted game where the rules were stacked against him. But despite all that, he still found the courage to make the hard choice.
Heroism is about sacrifice. Ray Nadeem didn't have superpowers. This point back period, he is just an FBI agent who can use the gun pretty well. He can shoot pretty well. But he's not a billionaire. He's not a ninja or a god. He's just a working class man who's trying to do the right thing by his and for his people, for his family, for his friends, for his coworkers, and for himself, right? But when it mattered most, he proved that heroism is about power. It's truly about choices. Truly, that confession scene in episode 9 was absolutely he was ready to risk it all. He knew everything was going bad with Fisk, and he just, I'm gonna go confess it. And then he realizes that Fisk has everybody in the FBI turned, and it's so freaking tragic. It's horrifying. Honestly, it's horrifying. And Ray just sat there, taking the beating, right? He just witnessed Fisk's influence on these people, It's almost like he mind controlled these people. And it was like a death sentence for him, right? Being a hero isn't about survival anymore, isn't about trying to make things and make ends meet. It's about doing what's right, and doing what's right for Nadeem was essentially exposing the biggest monster, the biggest crime lord in the city, essentially. And he went out with a bang, quite literally, because Bullseye keeps shooting 2 for 2. It's just, man, he's just absolutely an amazing character, And his death just hit like an absolute freight train. It just hurt so much because we knew it was going to happen. We knew all of the dread and terror this poor guy has been feeling, it's gonna end, and it's gonna end on his terms for once. It's gonna end on Nadeem's terms, and I love to see that. Nadeem may have dug his own grave at the start of season 3, but by the end of it all, at least his wife and his son didn't go with him, and they get to live a life that he wanted them to live. That's why Ray Nadeem's sacrifice wasn't just noble, it was absolutely necessary for all of these characters in this season.
Some of Marvel's best characters aren't just about the superheroes, but they're about the people. The type of people like Ray who aren't perfect. The ones caught in the crossfire, the ones trying to do the right thing in a world that doesn't make it easy. No one shows this more than Agent Ray Nadeem. In a universe filled with gods, radioactive powered beings, super soldiers, Ray was just a man with no powers who ended up being a hero. His story hit harder than most because it was painfully real. He wasn't just a side character, he was the heart of Daredevil Season 3, and he was the one that turned the tide against Wilson Fisk.
Ali's performance is nothing short of spectacular. I love his performance, especially as an original character where it's hard to gain attachment to him, especially for one season. But the guy absolutely killed it. The writing was awesome, and his performance elevated the character. From the quiet, short desperation in Ray's eyes to the raw determination in Ray's final moments. Ali brought a depth to that character that made us absolutely feel for this guy, We could see and understand his struggle, and honestly step in his shoes and dread that struggle with him. Especially since Ray Nadeem is just a man with no powers, no weapons at that point, right? You can pull it, right? He's just a guy trying to provide for his family in a system that was built against him. And yet, his story hit harder than anything I've ever seen because it was painfully real. Ray Nadeem was Marvel's greatest unsung hero, one of the greatest nobodies Marvel has ever made, especially as an original character. And it's time that we give Ray Nadeem his flowers. Alright, so special thanks to Film 1000 for joining me on this video. I reached out to this guy and he was absolutely down for everything, and I love his collaboration. He honestly got done with this video faster than I did, so I have a lot of appreciation for that. So yeah, a lot of shout out to Film 1000. His stuff will be in the link down below. He's absolutely killing it right now. His views are popping off. I love to see that man grow. He's a very passionate guy, as you can see in these videos. So yeah, I'm really happy for that guy, and I hope to collaborate with him soon. It means the world to me that he wanted to take the time and collaborate with me, so I'd love to do the same again. He's absolutely spectacular and had a spectacular time working with him, and I hope to do that again soon.